This is the Speak For Yourself podcast featuring the best of Colin Cowherd and Jason Whitlock. I'm your host, Jason McIntyre. Fun Friday show to end the week. Head into championship weekend. I'm a little melancholy, folks. There's only 3 football games left in the season and then 7 months with no football. Here we go. Whitlock says Pittsburgh has the better personnel and, like me, picks the Steelers to shock the Patriots in Foxborough Sunday. Cowherd believes the best teams are in the NFC, and in the AFC, it's the Patriots and everybody else. Fox Sports NBA analyst Chris Broussard, he was coming in hot, talking LeBron and how NBA players are more popular than NFL players. Wait till you hear that. Hall of Famer Chris Carter tells us he thinks the luck of Aaron Rodgers runs out and the Falcons move on to the Super Bowl. And Redskins receiver Pierre Garçon, maybe not for much longer, he is a free agent, shed some insight onto how to beat Mike Tomlin and Bill Belichick. Ready for Speak For Yourself? Cowherd and Whitlock, take it away.
All right, welcome to the show. Colin thinks Facebook Live will be the least of Mike Tomlin's problems on Sunday.
And Jason thinks Aaron Rodgers' spectacular run is about to come to an end. Speak For Yourself starts now.
Not because of Aaron Rodgers.
Well, you're finally coming to your senses.
He'll be individually great, but I don't know if they can overcome everything. All right, hello and welcome. Join us on the panel today are Hall of Famer Chris Carter and Washington Redskins wide receiver Pierre Garçon. Let's start with Aaron Rodgers, who looks to continue his historic run in Atlanta this weekend. Rodgers has been practically flawless during the Packers' 8-game winning streak, but his wide receiver core is severely depleted with injuries that could keep Jordy Nelson and Devontae Adams out on Sunday. Colin, I think the injuries finally catch up with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay this weekend. Do you agree?
I do, and everybody's obvious storyline is Aaron Rodgers is dominant, and I don't think that's the story. I think the story is how does Green Bay's defense stop Matt Ryan and these weapons? At some point, it's a match of numbers. I got 2 backs. Do you have 2 linebackers who can cover him in space? I have a star wide receiver. I have a number 2 star wide receiver. I just don't see Green Bay's depleted secondary, the numbers, the chess match. It doesn't match up with Atlanta's offense, which is kind of bulletproof.
So
they can
we
run.
go again. The receiver injuries don't matter. It's the DB injuries that matter. And Green Bay's inability to break serve, I guess, is what you think. Atlanta's going to continue to score too many points.
And I think this will be one of these games where Green Bay, Aaron finds himself, it's not Aaron. He's not getting the ball back, like the second half against Dallas.
I think it's going to be the wide receivers. I don't think they'll play. I don't think they'll be 100%. I think that's going to catch up with them because I think this game's going to go back and forth. I think in the regular season game, there were 17 drives. 11 of them between the 2 teams led to points. This is going to be a high score that I think his receiving core just won't be up to strength.
I think that is 100% true, but I think Randall Cobb will step up big. Ty Montgomery will play big. Christian Michael will play big. Jared Cook will play big for those guys, for Aaron Rodgers. But it will go back and forth, but I think the injuries do catch up with Devontae Adams is going to play, but he won't be 100%. But I don't think Jordy Nelson is going to play with that rib injury.
Yesterday on this show, the co-host made a reference to wide receivers being more icing than cake.
They are.
Now he's complaining that the icing is not on the cake, and he wants some icing on his cake, even though he likes cake more than icing. You have to make up your mind. You can't have it both ways, bro.
This is about personnel.
Yes.
I feel that Atlanta's going into this game at home, healthier, better overall personnel to begin with. And then Green Bay, with that, is like, we're 4 guys short.
Okay.
Well, the psychology of it, Green Bay is literally sitting there thinking, we don't have enough good players.
But they got a chance with Aaron Rodgers. Regardless, they're inside, they're throwing the ball regardless, but they have a chance with Aaron Rodgers.
But I do agree with you. And the reason why, because they don't have the matchups. The matchups wouldn't be there even if Green Bay's defensive backs were healthy. When you have 2 running backs that combine for 24 touchdowns during the regular season, it gives you not only the ability to run the ball between the tackles, but both of them are great receivers. You have 3 receivers, including a very good tight end, that they wouldn't match up with anyway. Green Bay doesn't have good linebackers. Now their corners are injured. So now they don't have good coverage linebackers or good coverage corners. So, yes, icing with the cake is better.
Hold on, though. I want to, because, again, I think Atlanta's going to win. I've been feeling that way all week. But are we underestimating? Look, Dallas, better team than Atlanta. Green Bay figured out how to beat them.
They spotted them 21-3. Right. A young football team came out of the locker room not knowing what the playoff intensity was.
And hadn't played a big game in a month. This is a big factor. One of the reasons I've always been, I don't believe the bye always helps. I thought New England had a bad first half. I thought Dallas had a bad first half. But what we know historically is by the conference championship, home teams do better. Why? Because they've generally been better teams and the rust is off. This idea that byes help is largely mythology. I thought Dallas lost that game first 8 minutes. I thought they were the better team second half.
I want to add one more thing, though, again, because we're all sitting here on Atlanta, and we may all look foolish because they took on the New York Giants and that incredible defense, and Aaron Rodgers and a beat-up receiving core found a way.
Right.
The
wide receivers gave them that game.
The
Giants wide receivers gave them that game.
And the Giants were 3 and out.
How about
They were down in South Florida checking out my homeboy.
The Hail Mary, the Aaron Rodgers.
That's bad play. They had 3 DBs looking at the ball, and Cobb catch it.
Atlanta's not known for their DBs too or their defense, so
that
he's going to find
Lambeau.
a way to make something happen.
That's in Lambeau. Green Bay gives up 9 points more a game on the road. That's in Lambeau. This is a high-powered offense. That was a BB gun with one player. The difference in there is Aaron Rodgers would get back on the field, back on the field, back on the field, good field position. Aaron's going to be sitting watching 9, 12-play drives.
Also, we can't forget, last week against Dallas, they single-covered Dez Bryant. Dez Bryant had a big game. You can't single-cover Julio. So they're going to double Julio. So they got one less guy on the field. So not only is the running game more important, the tight end, the slot, the other receiver, they're all getting single coverage. So the field is tilted for Atlanta to have a successful day.
But I don't want to underestimate Aaron Rodgers. All right, to the Falcons, who host the Packers in Sunday's NFC Championship game, looking to wipe away years of futility and make the Super Bowl for the first time since 1998. Bleacher Report now declares that the long-suffering franchise is actually the NFL's team of destiny. And you see there, the Falcons haven't won a championship since the team was founded in 1966. And we've seen the Cubs and the Cavaliers break long championship droughts in the past year. Colin, are you buying the Falcons as the team of destiny?
No. That's crap that ends up on a T-shirt. We refuse to lose. That's a saying. You know the best team of destiny? Go to Scores in New York or the Gold Club in Atlanta. They got nothing but destinies there. That stuff.
They got a few Mercedes.
Yes.
I don't buy. It's like everybody said the Cubs, team of destiny. No, they had a Aroldis Chapman. They had a great staff. They had power at the corners. They had Joe Madden. They had Theo Epstein. That ain't destiny. They got better personnel.
Right. I'm sure the people in Atlanta thought the team of destiny was a team in '98 that beat the 15-1 Vikings that I was on. The last time they were in the NFC Championship. That was more of a team of destiny than this team. Now, they didn't have the star power offensively. Solid offense, solid defense, great special teams. Beat one of the great teams of the regular season in the 15-1 Vikings. So I'm not a believer in destiny. Now, I do know things happen. It's been an unbelievable year and a half in sports. But Bleacher Report, that's a little strong as far as the team of destiny.
Actually, I believe this, and I like the Bleacher Report article, but I want to correct just one. 2012, they lost the NFC Championship game to the 49ers. Listen, for all the reasons you just said is why I think they may be the team of destiny. They may have the best personnel. They certainly have the best offense.
That's legitimate. Football's a game of not destiny, but matchups. Atlanta's a matchup problem for Green Bay.
But how can you sit here in this year where we've seen the Cavaliers and the Cubs, and Atlanta, to me, has a really sorry. The Braves won one title, had all these great teams.
That's coincidence. Like, by the way, during the World Series, you liked Cleveland because you thought they were the team of destiny. They didn't have Aroldis Chapman. I mean, sometimes you just have weird years. Think about this. Just this year in sports has been remarkable. Clemson, Alabama decided last play.
Yes.
NBA Finals decided last 2 plays. It's been a remarkable year of games. I've never seen anything like it in the 30 years I've been covering sports.
Oh, but both of you guys, and we'll start with Pierre, you're telling me there's never a momentum, a feeling in an organization with a team like this is our year because of X, Y, and Z?
And I think you're 100% correct. I think Atlanta is going through that right now because they beat Seattle Seahawks. That was probably one of the toughest defenses that you can play against. And if your offense could get past Seattle Seahawks by a lot, you can beat anybody else, especially when you're playing at home and then especially when you go to the Super Bowl. their offensive firepower is that strong. Those guys will step up. Matt Ryan is the Matt Ryan we all expected. Julio Jones is Julio Jones. The two running backs that they got, you don't know what they're going to hit you, and if they keep scoring points, destiny there.
If there were two teams that were teams of destiny, they were the Dallas Cowboys.
Right.
They got smacked last week.
Yeah.
And then it would be the Green Bay Packers.
Yep.
Right, because of Aaron Rodgers.
Those are huge brands. Those are historic franchises. Atlanta
has been underachieving. Everybody's been waiting for Atlanta to do this, and right now they have that very opportunity.
I'll give
with
you
a strong
one.
possibility.
Drew Brees in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina.
Okay.
They got swept up in the emotion. Now, I don't happen to think they were the best team.
Well, they
rode it.
That was the best defense Drew Brees ever had. Brett Favre won his one title on the best defense. Peyton Manning, when he finally won his first Super Bowl, they had a running game and a defense.
Reggie Wayne needed to run a better route. He gave his route away. Dude picked it off, took it the other way.
So, I mean, listen, post-Katrina mattered, especially at home. There was a certain something in...
That was real emotion.
I'm not denying that.
Yep.
But in the end, you had Drew in his prime, Sean Payton in his prime, and the best defense they've ever had. That's what won the Super Bowl. That defense was Drew's best, and they got him over the hump. I don't buy destiny.
Listen, I love destiny. I've loved several destinies, and destiny's always been good to me.
Welcome back. Let's talk some Russell Westbrook, who was not voted in as a starter for the Western Conference All-Stars. You know, the loaded conference with numerous stars at point guard. Westbrook has been averaging a triple-double for this season, but even that wasn't enough to propel him over Steph Curry and James Harden. It should be noted, better players.
Yeah.
Jason, does Westbrook deserve to start in the All-Star game?
No, I flipped. I was all in on Russell Westbrook. And look, the triple-double is a nice little deal, but I think he's diminished it. I think he's made it so much about him and not about the team and winning. Fans, I don't think, are buying into it. I get that players around the league are caping up for the guy.
Fans aren't fans didn't buy into it.
Yeah, fans aren't buying into it.
Players love talent. They love Iverson. Players loved Carmelo. They do.
Well, they're great players, too. Let's not act like they're just sideshows.
No, they're great offensive scorers, and players love that. In the NBA, players go to the dunk contest and high-five their rival. Yeah. They go to the three-point contest, and they're in awe of Bird. You don't see baseball players do that. If I had a
home run derby, they don't do that?
They do it a little bit.
But, I mean, the point being is in the NBA, talent is showcased and respected.
Yeah.
It really is. Russell is a player's player. But he's not a GM's player. He's not a coach's player. He wasn't Durant's player.
Listen, you guys, look, first of all, the players and the media voted in Westbrook, okay? The fans, the same ones that voted Zaza Pachulia to start, voted Westbrook out. The same ones that voted Dwayne Wade to start. So that tells you the fan mentality that they're not looking at the games. And he diminishes the triple-double. They're 16-5 when he gets a triple-double. How is that diminishing it? That's winning.
The way he's getting it.
They're winning 56% of their games this season. When Oscar got the triple-double in 61-62,
I wasn't alive.
They only won 53%.
You weren't alive.
My point is just that if a player's getting a triple-double, it's only happened twice, but that shows you he doesn't have much to work with.
There were only two players that could dunk when Oscar Robertson.
But Chris, you mentioned the fans. Isn't this about the fans? They get 50% of the vote. They love Steph Curry. They can relate to him. TV ratings, sneaker sales, jersey sales. Steph Curry's the face of the league for the last 2 years.
You want Zaza starting too?
Stop with the Zaza business. Listen, there's
those
also
fans you're lauding voted him in.
How about the relatability? Russell Westbrook is angry. You know the new NBA, they're all friends, everybody's cool.
He's a loner.
Steph Curry's smiling. Russell Westbrook doesn't want Durant. He doesn't play well with others.
Let me defend the fans.
Come on, Chris.
Let me defend the fans. Okay, so the fans, the D-Wade thing, he's a likable player. He's been on a million commercials. So we have some fan bias with D-Wade. Okay, then we had a little player bias. They were anti-Clay and Draymond Green. So there's a little player bias, a little jealous against the Warriors. There's also some media bias. The media, as you taught me, likes a good story. GMs don't want DeMarcus Cousins. Coaches don't want DeMarcus Cousins. The media, they've always liked DeMarcus Cousins more than the average coach. Why? He's a hell of a story. So everybody showed bias in this voting. The media with DeMarcus Cousins, they like him way more than GMs and coaches.
The media that likes DeMarcus is basing it on his PER. These are those analytical guys who that's all they look at. Oh, his PER is so high, even though.
But if it's so high, why don't coaches and GMs want
No,
him?
I'm with you. I'm with you on Cousins. And I get it on the relatability and all that. That's true. But sheer on-court performance, how can you say Westbrook does not deserve?
This is an all-star
This is not
game.
egregious,
But the West
because
is-
Steph is a phenomenal player himself. So it's not egregious. But I'm saying if you got to pick two, it's got to be Harden and Westbrook.
Time out. Remember last year at this time? Isn't it ironic that last year at this time, who did we think got jobbed? Damian Lillard. What do Lillard and Westbrook have in common? They're point guards in the West. As good as Big Ben was, Manning and Brady get to the Pro Bowl. It's not that Big Ben's bad. Let's be honest about this. The Western Conference point guard spot is absurdly deep.
And Chris, I want to go back to your point about the players. Do you feel there's a little bit of haterade for Steph Curry after what happened in the finals? Remember, LeBron really smacked him down. He was the unanimous MVP of the league. And now all the players are saying it's got to be Westbrook. Kevin Garnett coming out, former player, Chandler Parsons. Everybody's ripping this decision. Subtle shots at Curry.
I think there's always, the last few years, since Steph became this otherworldly player, there's always been a little resentment toward him.
Why?
You say he's a suburban kid.
You know, he's Will Smith.
Yeah,
and Russell
I mean,
Westbrook is Tupac.
There's some.
Tupac's dead.
Tupac's
Will
on
Smith
Kevin
is
Durant's
still
leg.
making millions of dollars.
I am as big a Steph fan on and off the court as anybody. All I'm saying is you can't deny the triple-double. We never thought we'd see another triple-double average again.
Okay.
And it's a 6'3" guard doing it while he's leading his team to victories.
Hundreds of thousands of fans disagree with you. They love Steph Curry
It was-
in their
it was
All-Star
still
game.
very
They
close.
want to
By the
see.
way,
And yeah,
the big
they
draw.
like Zaza over Cousins,
Maybe the
too.
fans are seeing something
Anthony
here.
Davis.
The fans just surprised America with a president that many people in the media didn't grasp. Maybe the fans have figured this out, is that Durant seems to be really happy and getting along with people, and Westbrook's angry, sullen, and Durant left
I
him.
think he just analogized Steph Curry to Donald Trump.
In a roundabout way, I think he did. Well done, Cowherd. On inauguration day.
First time that's ever happened in the history of...
fans, let's not always say the fans are wrong.
No, I don't think they're wrong in
Fans
this case.
often have a very good heartbeat on what's right.
The
Disconnect
problem
of fans
is
and
this
media.
year, the fan voting was atrocious. Thank God that the NBA changed the format.
Welcome back. Let's get back to the AFC Championship. Steelers will try to take down the Patriots Sunday night. Cool Foxborough. Pittsburgh's offense has been explosive all year, but last week only managed 6 field goals against the Chiefs. And now a Fox Sports article actually claims Big Ben is the weak link for the Steelers. Now, it sounds crazy, but if you look here, after a strong start to his postseason career, Ben has struggled over his last 8 playoff games, throwing more picks than touchdowns. Fairly alarming. Jason, are you concerned Big Ben could struggle in Foxborough?
Yes, I am. He hasn't played that well on the road as opposed to at home. And listen, again, Big Ben's my favorite player. He's, the next incarnation of John Elway to me.
Yeah.
But he's thrown 4 pick sixes in the postseason. That's a record. I said it last week. The guy has some Drew Brees in him, great player, but he'll throw you a couple of interceptions if you're willing to catch him.
Yeah.
They didn't score a touchdown last week in Kansas City. Red zone inefficiency sometimes bothers Big Ben. So, yeah, I think we've spent a lot of time earlier in the show talking about Mike Tomlin and a coaching situation. This, to me, will come down to which quarterback makes the least amount of mistakes. If Big Ben plays a clean game, no turnovers, then I fully expect the Pittsburgh Steelers to win this game.
And I expect Ben to be able to match Brady. If you look at the way Brady's performed, you brought that out. It was a great point. He hadn't performed well in the last 2 games. Can Ben match that? Because this is beyond Tomlin. It's beyond some of the other stuff. Because if he can do that, you always have a chance against New England. New England in big games, they typically win by 3 or 6 points. It boils down to the turnovers in field position. New England always plays great special teams. But if you don't turn the ball over, even if you punt, Pierre, and punt them down and make them go 70, 75 yards, that gives the Pittsburgh Steelers the biggest chance. But The number to watch in the game is turnover. And who wins the turnover battle between Brady and Big Ben?
I definitely don't think Big Ben can match Tom Brady because Tom Brady will use everybody on the field from Martellus Bennett to Julius Edelman to Hogan to Deion Lewis to, just has so many weapons and being at home. And from what you guys are already saying that Big Ben has struggled later on in the postseason. So, and then if he gets hit.
That's an interesting comment, though, about all these different weapons. But Antonio Brown is arguably the best wide receiver.
That's one person.
He could. His performance, I think 100 yards and all the.
No, you're right. You can have 100 yards. Le'Veon Bell can have 100 yards. But with Tom Brady, he has different weapons he will make those weapons better from Chris Hogan, Julius Edelman, Martellus Bennett.
Saying something I believe. Because Randy Moss is such a star, that we consider that the best offense because they set records. This is the best offensive personnel he's had. He has 3 backs, a power back, LeGarrette, a speed back, Dion. He's got James White. He's got four what you would call slot receivers. Now, he's got Michael and Malcolm Mitchell to go deep. He has Martellus Bennett. Now, they would be better with Gronk. But the depth of his weapons is really good.
And
it's
he used
really,
it, and he used
really
all of
good
them.
for
You're going to have to get Pierre to agree with you on that one. I don't agree with you on that one.
He used everybody.
have
You don't know.
No, listen. Let's go back to the 07 team, all right? The team that was undefeated with Randy Moss. Right. That was the most explosive and dangerous team.
Explosive.
And dangerous. I mean, you had to tilt the field to Moss. Moss scored 23 touchdowns, right?
Yeah.
Like, what else? How much more offense do you need? Right now, they're very, very vanilla. Every one of the guys right now, you can single cover. You can go out and put any guy on.
But you're not going to single cover against Tom Brady.
But we're talking about
man-to-man,
we're talking about
one-on-one.
most explosive, most dangerous. It took an epic performance to beat the greatest offense that we had ever seen.
I'm going to go back to, again, I want to circle back to Ben Roethlisberger. I happen to agree with Chris. This offense can be dealt with. We just saw the Houston Texans deal with him pretty well. If the Texans had any offense at all.
If they had a quarterback that had a pulse.
Yeah, New England would be sitting at home. Ben Roethlisberger, again, to me, avoid the dumb errors.
True.
Don't throw it. Don't turn it over. Don't throw a pick six. Don't give him anything. Let Le'Veon Bell and James Harrison and that defense.
But that's not the reality.
work.
When you look at the home-away splits, it is shocking how much different Big Ben at home and away. On the road this year, he's 9 TDs, 9 picks. That's the reality. Green Bay gives up 9 more points on the road. That's a reality. Remember the great Utah Jazz teams?
Yep.
They were so good at home, they never brought it on the road. They could never equal it. You see this in sports a lot. A team, Oregon football, was so good at Autzen.
Yes.
They weren't the same energy on the road. Pittsburgh is an average road team. That is what they are.
What about New England in the playoffs on the road? We can look up the same stats, the same information you got there.
They're at
from.
home.
They're at home.
Yes.
You're right.
But, so most teams struggle. Yeah, most teams do struggle when they
Big
lose.
Ben is in a big spot, and I expect him to perform. Again, all the history says, hey, he struggles on the road. He's had some playoffs, but he's in a big spot. Mike Tomlin's in a big spot. I expect these
This is a
guys to
resume
perform.
changer, Jason.
Yeah, it really is. I expect him to have a great game and move the Steelers on.
To Foxborough, where the Steelers and the Patriots face off in the AFC Championship game Sunday night. Now, we've seen contrasting styles from these teams' coaches, with the stoic Bill Belichick shutting out all the distractions, while the emotional Mike Tomlin can't seem to avoid them. Jason, I think I checked the Vegas line. Belichick, Tomlin, I think Vegas thinks Belichick has a major coaching advantage with that 6-point line. That tells me some of it's home field, some of it's Belichick.
Well, I think Bill Belichick has a coaching advantage on paper against everybody he coaches against in the NFL. His resume is that thick, and what they've done, the aura they've created among that franchise is that powerful. However, the trend line for me, and I've been a huge Mike Tomlin critic, the trend line is all positive with Mike Tomlin. Everything the way they've played this season, they avoided a lot of the over-the-top emotional penalties this year. I think the only thing I worry about, when you go into a game against Belichick, you start thinking, I got to do something from the sideline.
Chuck Pagano's done that.
To win the game.
You overcompensate.
Onside kick. Pete Carroll throwing on from the 1-yard line. if Mike Tomlin just lets Big Ben, Antonio Brown, and Le'Veon Bell, you guys go out there and win the game for me, and I'm just going to sit over here and relax, I think Pittsburgh gets it done.
Well, Pittsburgh's got to be able to run the football. In the last 24 games, New England has not allowed, not a 100-yard rusher, not a 90-yard rusher. That's a season and a half. That's an eternity. So if they eliminate them, make them one-sided, it makes Tomlin's job more difficult to motivate, cheerlead, as y'all would call it. But I believe Tomlin is a better football coach. At the end of the day, the players have to make plays. You can give Brady credit, you can give Belichick credit, but players are on the field. They have to make plays for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And in the big games, they haven't been able to make those plays, so the criticism of Tomlin is fair.
Are the Steelers better this year, or is the AFC the weakest it's ever been? Who got hurt right before the playoffs? Derek Carr. Who was the second-best team? Kansas City. Peyton Manning retired. Andrew Luck has a subpar GM coach. Is Pittsburgh here because Tomlin has elevated him, or the NFC right now is stacked, and the AFC is New England and everybody else?
Another thing real quick. This is not a great New England team. Like, this is not one of the top 5 New England teams we've seen.
And they're dominating the AFC.
They're not dominating.
They are clear.
They didn't play anybody this year.
They're a
dominating
touchdown
AFC
favorite
East.
over Big Ben and the Steelers.
I think the number is wrong. I think Pittsburgh's going to win. I think Pittsburgh is better this year. Le'Veon Bell, they're healthy. They got their big 3 healthy. Le'Veon Bell is damn near at the running back position. He's not Aaron Rodgers, but damn, it's pretty magical.
He's the best back in the league.
And their offensive line playing pretty well.
And Ben's healthy.
Yeah, and so I like the Pittsburgh trend. I think going in on paper, Belichick, I'm saying, when you go up against, I don't know if you surely have played against Belichick. What is the mentality among players when you go up against the Patriots? Surely to God, there's got to be a lot of preaching about don't beat yourself. And if Pittsburgh doesn't beat themselves, I think they beat the Patriots.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to beat yourself, but you know you're going to get a tough defense that's going to play press, and you definitely want to run the ball, but you definitely want to score touchdowns, and that's what Pittsburgh do. They found a way to score touchdowns. Big Ben
except last week.
Yes. That's true.
Big Ben extended plays. I'm coming back to that last week game, but Big Ben's extended plays. Le'Veon Bell is playing as best as ever. Antonio Brown is even more motivated than
Who do you like in this game?
I like Patriots because they're at home. They got the experience. They got Tom Brady, Belichick.
I don't see it.
I keep hearing Belichick.
Are you a free agent after the season?
Free agent.
You need to go visit New England. They need a receiver. Good answer.
Walking the inside.
No, I'm telling you, I like Pittsburgh. They have the better personnel. James Harrison is putting an exclamation point on a Hall of Fame career right now.
You ever see Vegas come out with a line and you can't figure it out, and they're always right? When you saw 6, didn't you think, what? That's one of those.
I thought it was too many points.
Everybody did. I mean, didn't we all?
Sometimes Vegas is wrong.
Not that much.
They've been.
Have you been watching?
This year, Vegas has been wrong a lot in the
Wrong
NFL.
about Clemson, wrong about these playoffs. Vegas has been getting its butt whipped.
Yeah, you know New England's not Alabama. They're a little better.
Atlanta last week against Seattle. I sat here and I don't feel as confident. But I'm telling you, if Mike Tomlin doesn't force a 2-point conversion, if Mike Tomlin doesn't try an onside kick at an inopportune time, if they don't try some fake punt, if he just sits back and says, you know what? I got Le'Veon Bell, I got Antonio Brown.
That's not who he is.
I can't wait to be on this show Monday after Tomlin wins. I can't wait.
They beat him.
You can't wait.
They beat. You think Pittsburgh has no chance?
No, I am with you. I'm with you on that. I believe it. I believe it's inflated. I believe it should be closer. Yes, they do have a chance.
Saying if Mike Tomlin just sits back, yeah, and if my kid with a bunch of ice cream never puts his spoon in it, it's impossible.
Listen.
Mike Tomlin's going to do something crazy and emotional because he's an emotional guy.
No. He was a young coach.
2-point conversion?
Listen, I get it.
Their offense.
Absolutely.
That's part of it. That's not doing something out of the ordinary.
He's coached from his gut. I think he's learned a lesson, and he's elevating.
Tom Brady versus Tomlin. 19 TDs, no picks.
Yeah, the defense hadn't been that good. But why don't you credit Dick LeBeau when Dick LeBeau was there? No one mentions Dick LeBeau. He's not there anymore. This defense has changed. Since Bud Dupree and our boy Harrison, they have secured the edges, and now they have the blitz back in the Blitzburg, bruh.
I love Pittsburgh. I really do. Not as much as I love the Falcons.
I wouldn't even show up Monday if you're wrong.
This is the Speak for Yourself podcast featuring the best Colin Cowherd and Jason Whitlock. I'm your host, Jason McIntyre. We're looking forward to the games this weekend, so no Twitter question today. I know you're distraught. I see your tweets. Where's the Twitter question? Where's the troll talk? We took a break this week. Everybody's focused, man, heading into championship weekend. I'm taking, as I just said, Steelers on the money line, and I'm going to pick the Packers just because I've been wrong about them both weeks. I took the Giants, that whiffed. I took the Cowboys, that whiffed. So I'm riding the Packers, and of course, that'll probably whiff too. Thanks for listening, everybody. We had a fun week on the show. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud. Find us on YouTube. The show's on Sirius now. We're everywhere. We're taking over the internet. Have a good weekend.